So we've had the cruising guide to the Maine coast, which has been handy, and will be handy this summer, hopefully. And recently, we got the CCA cruising guide to Newfoundland and Nova Scotia. So we are starting to plan our summer if things go decently well and we are able to take off. But before we can head north for the summer, there are a lot of things that we need to get wrapped up on the boat for safety as well as just for comfort and ease of travel.
Yeah. Yep. There's a couple of things I wish we had in place over the summer. And in November when we cruised down from Camden, I think there's some electronics that would definitely make me feel a little warmer and fuzzier inside if they were up and running.
Yeah.
And definitely some creature comforts on the boat that aren't really pivotal, but would be nice to have.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get quite everything we want to get done before we go.
Definitely not.
But yeah, there's definitely a strong hierarchy of lists, and I think the things that we absolutely have to get done is not a crazy list. And I think the things we would like to get done is a much longer list. So that's good. I'm glad it's not the flip.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's also tricky to figure out what to start working on next because we're dealing with weather and temperatures, a lot of stuff that needs to be done out on deck, where it's easy to be like, maybe next week we'll have better weather.
Well, some
maybe
of it's
next week.
Totally weather dependent. And
Yeah,
some of it's comfort dependent.
Yeah.
For sure. But the weather will get warmer and we will get better days. We'll pick through it. But yeah, so Ben suggested that we take you all through a walkthrough of that to-do list and what it looks like and kind of what our priorities are.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get cracking on that.
I'm excited for this.
This is way more my to-do list than Robin's to-do list, which is why
Totally.
she's excited.
I'll help where I can. I'm better at programming websites than I am managing drills and tools.
So there's a few things that have to get done. There's the annual maintenance stuff, change fuel filters, do an oil swap, oil filter, that kind of stuff, but I'm not really counting that too much on the to-do list because that's just annual maintenance-y stuff. This is super high on the to-do list, and this is the new alternator. So I've been working with Ferris, who's local here on the Cape. They've been super helpful in figuring out a new alternator for the Naughty. So here she is.
Oh,
Oh, what?
it's so good.
So this is a 120 amp externally regulated alternator. This is about as simple as they come. So now that I have this alternator, I need to get the wake speed reconfigured. So what happens is the alternator, the engine turns the alternator makes electricity, which goes into the battery, and the wake speed is what reads the battery and tells the alternator what to do, whether it should make power or it shouldn't, or it should make all the power, or it should make some of the power. It monitors the temperature on the batteries, the charge state on the batteries, and it tells us what to do, and those need to talk well together. So since I'm switching the alternator, I need to get the wake speed reprogrammed. So this is super high on the priority list, and this will really help with our battery banks because we've been running basically 100% off solar since shortly after launch. Right now the alternator is just a really fancy belt tensioner. So this is real high on that priority list. I just got to get the wake speed reconfigured and then we can get to going on this. So I got this from Hamilton Ferris Company and talked to a guy, Ham. He was super helpful in getting this figured out. So this is a direct bolt-in for the one that's on the Nani. So it should be really, really simple swap.
I mentioned that there are some electronics that I'd like to see installed just to make me feel a little warmer and fuzzier and safer on the boat. Right now we're currently running, we've got our chart plotter. This is connected down here at the nav station, and it's also connected up on deck so we can see it while we're underway. We've also got our VHF, it's no problems here. And we've got our GMI 20, which is dealing with water speed, boat speed, and depth. That was enough to get us through our sort of first short cruising season, but looking towards our plans for this summer, it'd be really nice to get our AIS transceiver and receiver installed. Be great to get the radar running. That's something I'm pretty sensitive to just because I grew up, fishing offshore with my dad in these exact waters, and know how fast the fog can roll in and just destroy your visibility. So I know I would feel a lot better with the radar being installed. And we also need to get the satellite compass installed, which will connect with our chop plotter. And I think that other than that, it's really just finding a permanent home for the Starlink. Starlink's been amazing. Last summer, I was just relying on tethering off my cell phone to run my business, which was a bad plan. It didn't work very well at all. As soon as you get a couple miles offshore, you're down to like a bar at most of service, and it's just not enough to really tether. And especially where I'm running a marketing company and we're building websites and I'm doing some high bandwidth work. It was not a good solution. So having the Starlink set up has been huge. It has changed, not even for my business, but even Steve being able to upload footage to Ben. We're like, where at first we were like hunting down libraries and like, where can we go for like a solid enough Wi-Fi connection? Now it's just all done from the boat. We set it, we forget it, it runs. It's been amazing. Watching the Global Solo Challenge, all the racers have been using, or a lot of the racers have been using Starlink and just reporting amazing coverage in pretty much every corner of the globe. So feeling hopeful that this solution will allow me to keep running my business as we explore and adventure north this summer and to who knows where in the future.
These are the Starlink boxes behind you, right?
Yeah, these are, I'm not exact. I know one of them, I believe this one deals with Wi-Fi while underway and in motion. And this, my assumption is it's just the router. So we need to find homes for these. And we also need to do DC conversions so that they don't have to, like right now they're running off of 110 that's being run from the shore through this just really aesthetic, beautiful system of cables. So we need to obviously get rid of that and figure out where these get permanently mounted. But I think where we figured out a permanent home for the Starlink dish right up top on the Dodger in between the solar panels should make it pretty easy to run power right into the station here and simplify everything.
So the Starlink's looking basically right up at the mast, and all those lines are in the way. But that doesn't seem to bother it. As long as there's nothing big like the boom, the solar panels, the Dodger. So speaking of things on the Dodger is one of the we have to get done before we take off. I am kind of amazed it has held up as long as it has through everything it's held up. Scott and I did not intend for it to be used even a fraction of as long as it has. Nothing's quite as permanent as a good temporary fix. I've been talking with Evan from MS Fabrication. He's currently out skiing or boarding in Colorado right now, the lucky man. But when he gets back, they're gonna fab up some small stainless steel legs that will bolt into the housetop. And then I'm gonna make a fiberglass top that goes over it. So I'll do that with foam and a couple layers of glass over it. So it'll be really light and plenty rigid. We'll just have some stainless steel legs that go up and attach to it with a couple little braces. And then we can permanently mount the solar panels. We can permanently mount the Starlink. And I can put a little bit of a lip on the front of it so that the boom can't possibly drop and smash the Starlink and the solar panels. Right now, that's something we need to be really careful of. If the sail isn't hoisted and if the topping lift isn't tight enough, the boom can strike those. We want to make sure that that's not the case, because that would be a wicked bummer to lose solar panels and Starlink all at once. Though we can't do the foam or the glass, obviously, until it warms up, and I need Evan to do the legs, but we'll get that done before we take off. Want to go back down below where it's warm?
I do, like badly. Ooh, it's so much nicer.
Another on the absolute have-to-dos is getting this installed. Any guesses? So this is a new center block for our brand new water maker. And the reason we needed a new center block is I called Spectra and asked them what of their many models we should get for the boat, and told them what we were doing, and they said that we should get the Ventura 200T. It's the model for the cruisers. What I didn't notice, and they failed to mention, was they consider cruising to be in the tropics. So the Ventura 200T does not like to work when the water is below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And let me tell you, the water here this winter has been below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and if we make it up as far as Newfoundland, the water in the summer will maybe be 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So we are currently unable to make water and will be unable to make water in these temperatures. So the options were buy a new $8,000 water maker, or we can tear apart the center block and for $500 replace the intricate little pieces in it, or for $1,000, which is what we did, we can buy kind of a drop-in center block where we don't have to tear as much apart. And what this does is it takes it from a 10% capture rate to a 7% capture rate, and by losing that 3%, we drop in our PSI of the operating pump. And the reason it's running high is because colder water is denser, and that denser water makes the pump run at a higher PSI. So by dropping how much our percentage of recovery is, we get the pump to operate in warm water at a lower pressure. So when we're operating in cold water, it's still within the threshold. The Ventura 200T, with its 10% pump, is putting us out of that pressure threshold because the water is so cold. So if we look in here, this is where the water maker is. I've got to tear this assembly here apart, and that block's going to go in here. So once I get that done, we can put the water maker back online and we'll be able to make water. Being here at the dock, it hasn't been a huge issue. I've just been running 5-gallon jugs of water down and filling up the tanks every week or two. It's not the most fun. It's other things I'd rather be doing with that time, but it's manageable. We don't want to be trying to put 5-gallon jugs in the tender and rowing them out to a boat, which would be what we'd be doing this summer. So when we get this replaced, it's a pretty expensive whoopsie, but it's better than buying a whole new pump assembly. And I think the $500 extra to get the pump as a whole unit and not have to tear that whole thing apart is probably well worth it. So to recap our list of things that we gotta get done before we take off, we gotta get the alternator installed and the wake speed reconfigured so we can make power off the motor. We've got to get the water maker online, get that pump torn apart and fixed so that we can make water. We have to get the radar, the AIS, the satellite weather, and the satellite compass, as well as the wind reader for direction and speed, all installed. Ooh, and navigation lights. Forgot about those. We've been running battery-operated ones, which is honestly fine. We could continue to do that indefinitely if we wanted to, but get real navigation lights installed that we can just flick a switch, turn them on and off. So that all goes up in the rig. Everything's laid out. The foundation is here for all of that. So installing those won't be too terribly difficult. And then I got to get the reefing lines done and the stack packs final sorted and tie downs for the hatches. And I know some of you are calling lifelines, lifelines, lifelines. And we will do some lifelines before we head up to Newfoundland and Nova Scotia. I personally really like operating the boat coastally and tied up to a dock and living on it without them. So we're going to set up some pretty easy to set up, take down lifelines. And that's so simple that I don't even really consider it as the technical list of things we need to get done this winter, because I can rig those up in an afternoon before we take off. And we'll get to that when the time comes. So we've got a couple other things that we really have to get done before we can take off this summer. One is just wrapping up the last little bit that we have to do on the stack packs. I want to play with the lazy jack lines a little bit. The ends are sticking out a little too long with the piping. Those got to get cleaned off. Just a couple small things. Bigger thing for the sails is to install cheek blocks. So there's some traced out marker here on the boom. There's 3 on the main, so there's 2 on this side and 1 on the other, and there's 1 on the mizzen, and those are for the reefing lines. So Robbie Doyle gave me the locations from the sail design, and what happens is there's a little block that goes here, and then there will be a cleat, and the line will go from the cleat through the turning block, through the reef point on the sail, back down to the boom. So when you want to reef the sail, you pull on that line, pulls that part of the sail to where it needs to be, make it fast to the cleat. We've been running kind of jerry-rigged this summer, and it hasn't been super ideal. So before we head farther north and can possibly run into some wilder weather that's harder to predict, we need to make sure that those reefs are solid and ready to go. But I need to either build the boom up a little bit or shave the boom down a little bit so that the cheek blocks fit, because the cheek blocks are flat on the back and the boom is round. So I need to do a little bit of shaping or a little bit of fairing compound work. Either way would work. And I need it to be a bit warmer to be able to do that, because I'm going to have to paint and stuff. So everything for that is all laid out. I just need a couple days above 50 to be able to do that. Other than that on deck, there's a lot of little things. I got to finish up the tow rail, but honestly, we could take her around the world with the tow rail like that, and it would just be an inconvenience. I will get it fixed, but it's not as high priority as reefing lines. So these need to get cut back, and the lines need to just be kind of adjusted and played with a bit. And then one of the last big things I can think about, it's probably one of the easiest projects I've listed so far, is to put hold downs for the fore hatch and the aft hatch. Because right now, there's just gravity that holds this down. And for everything that we've been doing, that's been way more than adequate. But if we're gonna go farther offshore and there's a chance of a wave sweeping the deck, we need to make sure that this hatch can't lift up. So this needs a hold down. And we need to do the same thing for the hatch in the stern of the boat, the lazarette. That also needs hold downs so that that can't get blown open. On deck, things are in pretty decent shape. There's a couple projects that we listed already. I got to finish up the tow rail repair here as soon as we get a warm enough day and install the heavier block on the other side. The deck needs to be oiled, tow rail needs to be oiled, and all of the varnish needs to have numerous more coats added. So there's a bit of maintenance work to do on deck, but for the most part, things are in pretty good shape. A lot of the things that we would like to do before we get going sailing have to do down below. There's not a ton to do up here other than figuring out the last fit of stuff with the rig and getting this Dodger here done. Cool. Want to go show us your list down below?
I would love to. All right.
Some might call this my honey-do list.
It's a bit of a honey-do list.
We got through all the has to dos and the likes to dos on deck. So what are the creature comforts, things that you'd like done down below for Robin to have a happier cruising experience?
Let me tell you. I don't think it's much, honey. I don't think it's much.
Okay. What's the number one?
The number one thing is I would love to have the hot water heater installed, because washing dishes, I know you boil water and take that time and effort, but it is a lot of extra time that I don't necessarily have in my day, or you don't really necessarily have in your day. So the hot water heater would be a great thing, and every time I bring it up, I'm told, that's an easy thing. That's an easy thing. So, pics or it didn't happen. No, I mean, so that would be one thing that would be great.
So yeah, Robin is right. I do say that hooking up the water heater is not terribly difficult. But if we hook up the water heater, we're going to go through a lot more power. And we don't have the wind generator on right now, and we don't have the shore power plug hooked up fully either.
Speaking of my to-do list, what's next on my to-do list is definitely getting the shore power hooked up and the wind generator for sure. I think that the shore power should be a priority before we leave, because who knows what we're going to encounter in other countries when we go up to Canada. Would be nice to be able to like hook up to shore power on a dock if we can. And the wind generator also, because I know like the power for the hot water heater really needs, like, we need more battery, more juice in the tanks. So yeah, let's just like get it out of that box and
Yes, there's the wind generator.
bang bang boom, let's put that up.
Oh yeah. Bing bang boom, huh?
Easy to say for someone who's not going to do any of the work. I'll help you.
Show
I'll
me the
film
way.
you.
Uh-huh.
But so that would be nice, get the shore power and the wind generator going.
Shore power, wind generator, hot water heater.
Shower. And then follow me. No, the only thing I want done and that I would like done in here is the doors to be put on where my clothes are. And right now it's not an issue because we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But when we're underway, all of that gets lost.
Yeah, it comes spilling out.
It all comes spilling out. And so it would be really nice to have the doors put on here. And and you know what, another benefit of getting the wind generator on would be that we don't necessarily have to keep the collapsible solar panels. We maybe could get rid of some and just free up some space on the boat, because these cases are sort of everywhere we don't want them to be. Well, yeah, doors here, and maybe like a little fixture here on our thing, but that's not important.
All right, what else? I know that's not all.
No, I think that's it. I don't think that there's, I mean, we talked about just finishing up projects around the boat, I forgot about that. Yeah, that would be nice.
You want to explain that?
Yeah, we're gonna need some, so Steve very generously took the what's it called? The wood burning stove off the boat. I don't think just for me, but I think it freed up some space so that we could keep the food here. I was having a really hard time reaching the food when it was back there. It's like just out of my reach, and I'm, trying to cook and like crawling over a hot stove to get it, to something that was stored back here. So this space, using it for food storage, has been awesome. But we do need to figure out the best way to optimize the space, because obviously just having everything loose is fine for sitting here in Harwich, but not so fine for being underway. So my thought was, to let me cut this down a little bit, and do like a shelf that comes here. So we have these bins here, 4 of them fit. We could do 4 and then a shelf, and then do another shelf that could fit another 4 if we wanted. But I'm thinking we would just have like 2 bins in the back, and then maybe some loose food with either a few like metal or paracord cables that run across the front to hold it in while we're underway. And then I mean, I'm trying to dream big. You taught me the power of dreaming big, babe. It would be awesome if we had a little bit, like another shelf at the very top. Maybe the front half of it could be kept open for more like cooktop space, or like food prep space, more counter space. And then maybe these bins fit good 3 across the back. So we could do another like 3 bins across the back, and then miscellaneous stuff back there. It's my hopes and dreams. What do you think? You think it's possible, honey? Ish?
Yeah, it's a lot to do, and then here, let me get in the shot with you. You want to slide over closer to the heater? I'll hop in next to you. Anything's possible. I mean, if we don't drive the hour and a half to the climbing gym once or twice a week, and a few other things like that, then yeah, I can probably get all this stuff done. It's no, it is a very it's a tough balance, like truthfully, between Robin's business and the amount of time that the saloon table is an office, and what that looks like for her, and trying to get to the gym and maintain and increase a little bit of fitness, and helping out with my mom, and spending some time with your family while we're here, and getting boat projects done, and dealing with the weather, and trying to shoot the videos, do the content, keep Akiva entertained. It's a balancing act for sure.
Yeah.
So that's our list of really what we need to get accomplished and would like to get accomplished, and
yeah,
I'm sure there's 50 other little things that we didn't think about at the moment that we will.
They're all little. I mean, like even the bringing up the door latches in our hanging closet. What's it called? Hanging locker.
Hanging locker.
Hanging locker. Gotta learn a whole new vocabulary. That's not a big deal at all. I think it's like, for me, if I could prioritize, I'd be like, how many things can we take off the boat once this project is done? Because we have a lot of tools taking up a lot of space, but they're completely necessary right now. But then it makes it tough because, like, I have like a little briefcase that I put my laptop in, and it's one of the Pelican like waterproof briefcases, and I like don't have a spot for that. I'm like,
yeah, you do.
Well, now I do. We just got it. But it's like, it would be really nice to have a home for some of these things that, like, I'm never going to part with that briefcase or my computers. Those are things that have to come with me. It's how I make a living. It's how I pay my bills. They're not going anywhere. So having space for stuff like that would be helpful.
Yeah.
But we're getting there. I feel like every time.
As projects fall.
Yeah.
The space frees up.
Yeah.
If there weren't any boat projects and it was just having the things on to handle an emergency or a fix, it would be a lot less space and volume than it is now.
I'll laugh because there's stowage behind us here. I have no clue what's in here, but I do because I looked and there's a label maker, and I'm like, you telling me that there is a label maker, but I can't have a second bottle of lotion?
You can't have a second bottle of lotion?
Body lotion.
Body lotion.
I have a couple.
Can we? All right, if we're gonna do this now, let's bring out the lotions. Show me your 1 bottle of lotion and your
Maybe it's 2, maybe it's 3.
in that bag.
That's my bag.
Yeah. But for example, to Robin's point, this is the pump for recharging the refrigerator because we had a leak in that, and we don't need that now that we know that there isn't a leak and things have been running good. So that can probably come off. And then this is all fasteners, which seems insane. I know. But insane. But the problem is if I take these out, I'm going to be trying to go to the hardware store and find 3 number 8 1¼ inch bronze screws so I can install this cleat while we finish up the rigging. I used 2 different size screws today installing lift latches in the sole. So when those projects are done and it's just a handful of fasteners in case something breaks and we need to make do, all of that clears out. I can clear it out now, but we're just going to be running back and forth to Granby to go get a couple things or go into the hardware store.
Silly.
And yeah.
No, and I think it's not even, I mean, I joke around that like, I want to bring more shoes on board. I don't really. I'm perfectly fine. I actually keep bringing stuff off because the threshold of what I think I need to survive continues to decrease and decrease. So I have actually brought probably like two full bins worth of stuff off the boat that I'm like, okay, this is just taking up space. I'm not using it. Get rid of it. So I think I pared down quite a bit. But I think when I look around, I feel very overwhelmed because it's cluttered. There's a lot of stuff everywhere. And I think getting, like clearing out space in here allows stuff that's just sort of sitting on the workbench or the kitchen that we're not using every day can kind of get stowed away and then create like a cleaner, more open space.
Yeah, and if we're going to go adventuring and bring climbing gear and friends on board, we need space for that. Right. And we need to account for the weight. We don't want to be adding a lot more weight to the boat. So taking off this stuff will make room for things to come on.
Yeah.
But I am trying to get the boat decluttered and clean up, and I know it's...
And I'm not helping because I'm crazy with work and I'm sitting here, 10 hours a day, just like head down, plugging away. But it's all so that in April when we take off, I can really, truly take off and we can go sail this summer and I won't have to be glued to a computer 24/7.
Hopefully.
Yeah.